Well, thank you so much, Bruce. I'm not sure how I can actually live up to that, but I will do my best to provide some insight here as to where things are going. You all know there's a technology revolution happening, right? Very clear. We're seeing the smartphone arise. We're seeing everything going over the internet. We're also seeing old technology disappear. Not only do we no longer have 8-track tapes, but even DVDs are disappearing in favor of streaming. I now have over my Comcast, I watch my TV on the internet over a Roku box as opposed to going through the cable TV, so that's kind of disappearing. The number of landlines in this country continues to decline, even though the population is increasing, because we're changing how we're doing it. With change comes opportunity. That opportunity to better serve people, to have better health care, better education, better public safety, better advanced manufacturing. Be able to do the things which really improve a municipality like Ammon, county, state like Idaho, and in fact, this country, the United States. And so it's really on a national mission that I come to you today from US Ignite to talk to you about how does the city of tomorrow get smart. Let me tell you just a little bit about US Ignite. We were born June 14th, 2012 in the South Auditorium of the White House. This is that auditorium. It was completely filled. At that time, we had the President's Science Advisor, John Holdren, introduce US Ignite. We also had Subra Suresh, the Director of the National Science Foundation. We also had the head of the FCC come and introduce and really birth US Ignite. And that auditorium was filled with folks who had a vision for what the next generation of technology was going to be able to do for America. Not necessarily the next generation of technology, but what the next generation of technology would do for Americans. For you, for me, everyone in this room, everyone in the city of Ammon. What was that going to be? And so this nonprofit that I founded, US Ignite, had a mission. That mission was to provide new next-generation applications made possible by these new technologies. New technologies, new opportunities, new ways to help benefit and serve people. And that was the key area for US Ignite. So next-generation applications making for smart and connected communities through advanced networking. We thought the new advanced networking technologies would be that important. And that's why organizations like Next Century Cities, you've heard from Deb Sosha, US Ignite, and others are really paving the way for this revolution to happen that's going to benefit citizens. And these are some of the examples of the applications. The cute guys in the upper right are the gigabots. They come out of Kansas City. Our annual meeting next year is going to be in Kansas City, March 26th to 28th. We had 1,800 people in Austin here in 2017. Those gigabots are cost-reduced robots. They're very inexpensive robots because the things that drive them are actually located back at a city facility. And they use these in senior living facilities to go and patrol the hallways, make sure there isn't a senior citizen who's fallen, that the utilities are working correctly, that there's not a buildup of carbon monoxide. And then all of these things are interesting applications that US Ignite works with. These are the kinds of applications you can see here on the graph. We have a number in public safety. We have a number in education. Healthcare is very big. Advanced manufacturing. Transportation. We're beginning to work much more closely with the Department of Transportation on that transportation challenge. That's who US Ignite is, and I come here today with my national hat on to go do that. Ammon has been very intertwined with all of this. Now, remember the date I said that we birthed US Ignite? June 14, 2012, remember that? A year earlier, Ammon had put in its first 2.5 miles of fiber. So when we started US Ignite, when I started US Ignite, I said, well, who's already out there doing something? And guess who I found? Among other places, Ammon, Idaho was already doing this. So I had to go and look up the twins. The twins were very important. I had trouble keeping them apart in my mind. That's why they became the twins. I know they look differently, but in my mind, you see one, you see both of them at the same time. Maybe it's double vision, but it's also double powerful. And I can't tell you how many great conversations I had with them because this whole national movement fed off of, among other people, the folks from Ammon and Albion Telephone. So that became a really important part of what birthed this whole national movement. So in Ammon, we've had a number of interactions already in US Ignite. This is 2013, so it's 1 year into US Ignite, and we had our first annual meeting, and sure enough, we had Stacy Hyde, the fire chief here in Ammon, gave a talk because, of course, you guys are leading this in terms of public safety applications. So we were very glad to have him. And then
a little more than a month ago, we told you about a system being tested at Sand Creek Middle School in Ammon. It's a network that detects gunshots fired. Eyewitness News reporter Tyler Berg joins us now in the studio. And Tyler, who made this project actually happen?
Well, this was done with the cooperation of Ammon, the Bonneville County Sheriff's Office, and District 93. Today, the project was reviewed at a meeting in Ammon.
The big thing that this technology offers is it can bring clarity to a very chaotic situation.
In August, a Virginia-based company tested the system with live rounds.
The partnership that exists between the City of Ammon, Bonneville County Sheriffs, and School District 93 is unique. That's been commented on. We are willing to each bring our assets to bear and use them to start to move the needle.
So there's an example of Bruce being a leader, a national leader, in applications of this high-speed fiber technology. This is a case as a public safety application. So US Ignite and Ammon have been intertwined since the start. That's the main message. But the city of Ammon is really a city I often point to. Just as the Office of Science and Technology Policy told you about me, I tell people about Ammon. And I tell people about Ammon because Ammon is the face of the new model that I think is coming up. It's really the face of the new model for technology and how to use it. And that face, of course, begins with, anyone guess what the F is for? Yes, you were right, fiber. Fiber is really a very interesting technology because it truly is the next utility. It truly is the next utility, and it's been recognized here in Ammon almost better than any place else, that it isn't good just for internet. It isn't good just for television. It isn't good just for telephone. It isn't good for just reverse 911. It isn't good for just remote health care. It's good for any technology-based service. In fact, it's the utility that's needed for a tech economy. It's the utility needed for a tech economy, right, Senator? It's exactly why this is so important to make happen. So when we think about that utility for tech economy, you want something that's going to last, something that's going to continue to be able to be upgraded. I go to the Optical Fiber Conference every year. It's on the West Coast. There's about, I think about 10,000 people who go to that conference. The technology in the lab will currently take it not to just a gigabit, not just to 10 gigabits. In fact, you can get that pretty commercially today. Not just to 100 gigabits. But we're demonstrating last year 400 gigabits. And this year we're expecting to see in January a terabit, which is 1,000 gigabits. So it's a technology that's going to allow us to have communication speeds that are going to future-proof the system here in Ammon and every place else that's laying fiber. Fiber really is that powerful. It really is that future-proof. It really provides those kinds of speeds. And it really allows for not only multiple services, but services that have their own virtual lanes, their own virtual slices. So we're looking at things where we've got software-defined networking. I know I was talking about that 5-6 years ago, but actually having that here in Ammon, you're the first people that I know of who are actually using it for applications. There are some other companies across the country who are deploying software-defined networking, but only for their own purposes. And here in Ammon, That software-defined networking is being used in the service of the citizen and to allow new applications to come on without requiring permissions from the carrier. That is, we've separated the innovation from the carrier, which means the innovations are free to run as fast as competition and the American way will allow, which I think is really very, very important. So that's the F for fiber. Applications are really important. If you put in fiber and no one uses it, so what? Doesn't make any difference whatsoever. So what are those applications? Talk to the folks right along the tables here, and I'll show you some applications. Those applications are really very important because they're the payoff to your tech economy. They're the payoff to the tech economy. So let's just take a look at some of the applications that are going on. This one is being done here in Utah, and maybe Arusha will be able to talk a little bit about it. I don't know if she works with the Ski Institute, and Chris, the faculty member who's been doing this. But if you have an essential tremor like Parkinson's, right now you have to go to a main medical center and stay there for 6 to 9 months while they tune up what the electrodes are doing. So here's what happens. Here's the situation that you might have. You can see on the left the difficulty the person is having before this surgery and the implantation of the electrodes, and then afterwards they're able to pour this water without spilling it. So it's that kind of essential tremor before deep brain stimulation tuning and then after deep brain stimulation tuning. So this is being done remotely in Utah and of course can also be done here in Idaho. It's being done by the Ski Institute in Utah. We have to call it the Ski Institute, you understand why. Scientific Computing and Imaging. And here's an example of, you can see in this MRI that we've got an electrode inserted into the brain. The orange part is the part that's doing the stimulation. And you can see it from two different viewpoints here, from the front and from the side. And it turns out that the electrode was not activated in exactly the right place. So in order to quell the tremor, they had to move it slightly. Watch the orange part there, and you'll see that they moved it down just a little bit. Did you see it move just then? That was helping to quell that tremor, and that tuning was able to be done remotely without having to be back at the hospital because of the gigabit network, in this case in Utah, through the Utah Education and Telehealth Network. And those kinds of things are possible here in Idaho through IRN, the Idaho Regional Optical Network, and it's those kinds of applications of gigabit networks that really make a difference. This is Dr. Marjorie Skubik. She's in the University of Missouri, Kansas City. She's doing remote rehabilitation. Somebody needs rehabilitation and they're hours from the nearest rehabilitation center. It can be done remotely. And even better, she can see on this, dashboard on the upper right exactly how the range of movement is this week compared to last week. So can see the progress, and it's being measured electronically through computer analysis of the image. So it's not just that the image is being brought in, they're actually getting a better experience than if they had been there in person because of the additional analysis that can be done. Or here's an example of bringing some microscopic creatures from the ocean in front of students who may not have an ocean in their state. Last I checked, there wasn't an ocean in Idaho. Lots of beautiful lakes, but no ocean. So the idea is...
Ever think about the micro world that surrounds us?
So here we can see a rotifer, which is eating, and if you had this in 4K, this is actually in 4K, you can see the little feelers going and helping it feed into its mouth, these very microscopic creatures. And in this particular application, this is being done in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and these students are able to control the microscope. They get to move it back and forth, they get to adjust the focus, they can go and see this rotifer, they can back out and see lots of rotifers together, or maybe diatoms, or other things that are there. So it's an opportunity for students to get interested in marine biology, even if you live in Idaho. Really very interesting way to go do this, all because of gigabit connectivity, in this case to the schools and through the national network. So if this were being done here in Idaho, it would use the Ammon fiber optical network to the school, then connect to IRN for Idaho, connect to Internet 2 nationally, and in this case the images are coming from the University of Southern California. So the city of tomorrow, these applications are really very, very important. And they're really the payoff for a tech economy, to be able to have these new education opportunities, these new opportunities in transportation, in healthcare. C is for competition. And this is someplace that I think Ammon and the Ammon model really stands out, in that they're allowing many people onto their fiber optic network, and they all have equal capabilities. In fact, one of the things that Bruce said, he addressed a national audience at the Connecting Rural Communities Conference in Virginia last month, that one of the interesting things is there's no distinction between a service provider and a service consumer on the Ammon network. They're all connected in exactly the same way. So that means that anybody can have as a sideline the ability to provide their own services to everyone else on the network. Cool. So schools can provide services from service clubs. We have local universities can participate, of course, but you can participate. You can do something, a doctor in your own home that goes and provides something that provides that. So it really allows for growth in that tech economy. Not only does it enable the tech economy, but the competition provides for innovation-driven growth, which is the fastest kind we've got. So the Silicon Valley of software-defined networking growth can happen right here in Ammon. You've got everything that's needed for that. And really make sure that we have competing and the highest quality services. So that's the C in phase. And then the E, of course, is that you can't do any of this unless you have a Dana Kirkham and you have a Bruce Patterson and you have Robert Peterson. Bruce. You can see my problem. You don't have the twins to be able to make this happen. I did that on purpose. So the enlightened leadership, I think, is really important here. And I think Bruce deserves a lot of the credit. He's been carrying this through. He really appreciates your support, Mayor, and everybody else in Ammon, who really has taken the opportunity to recognize there's national history being made here in Ammon. And we're very thankful for that. So that's the leadership for the tech economy. Leadership for the tech economy comes from lots of places. There's a few folks in Silicon Valley, but there's also at least a few people in Ammon, Idaho, who are providing that national leadership. And Deb Sosha and I and others who will play on the national scale, we really appreciate this national leadership. She's nodding up here. The advanced networking infrastructure, the idea that you are being local and self-sufficient in your networking, not depending on somebody outside the state. This is, I think, an important value from this section of the country that lots of people can use and use well to be able to have that. And of course, you need a plan. You need a really good plan. And that kind of a plan, right on page 11, I think it is, of this plan, is talks about the fact that this is going to be an integral part of what happens here in Ammon. So really very, very important to be able to do that. That City of Tomorrow will have the face of Ammon. City of Tomorrow will have the face of Ammon. It'll have the fiber. It'll have applications, not only from Ammon, but from other places. There will be a lot of sharing on that. There will be innovation and competition on a very rapid scale, and they'll have enlightened leadership. And I want to thank you folks and help other folks in the country to have that same kind of enlightened leadership. It's going to be very important. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to address you this morning.